Good morning, and thank you for joining us for the bill signing for the Landlord-Tenant Relations Tenant Protection and Notification Bill 724. It's designed to help protect the health and safety of tenants who live in apartment buildings, and the bill was authored and introduced by Council Vice President Kate Stewart. And joining us this morning are County Executive Marc Elrich, Council Vice President Kate Stewart, Council Member Will Jawando, and representing Council Member Lorianne Sales' office, and we also have representatives from Sydney Katz's office and Kristen Mink's office. We're also joined by the family of Melanie Diaz, Cesar Diaz, and Zulika Madera. They have been pushing for fire safety laws after losing their daughter in a fire in a high-rise apartment building in Silver Spring last year. We're also joined by the team of the Department of Housing and Community Affairs. We have Fire and Rescue Services Chief Corey Smedley, the Department of Permitting Services Director Robbie Sabakan, Jubilee Association of Maryland Executive Director Steve Keener, the Renters Alliance Board of Directors Omar Lazo, the Sanctuary Residence Council Nolu Crockett Natonga, and Andrew Sondry, who testified in favor of the legislation to protect tenant safety. And first up, we have our County Executive, Marc Elrich.
So thank you all for being here today. Thank the family for coming. This is really important. I just want to call you out because not only did you suffer a terrible loss, but you turned that loss into advocacy, and the advocacy has made a difference. So I want to thank you for trying to bring as much good out of this as you possibly could. And it's appreciated by all of us. And it'll be appreciated by the tenants in Montgomery County. On February 18th, we all experienced this horrible situation. And aside from the loss of their daughter, Melanie, there were over a dozen people injured in the fire. And it was over a year ago, but we're all aware of this day, and it's triggered a lot of activity around what we do about increased fire safety in buildings. The new law is a significant step forward to protect tenants and to prevent another loss of life. And I especially want to thank Vice President Kate Stewart for championing the bill and seeing it through. It takes a lot of work to do this. I've been on that side of the street before, so it was really important that we got this done. I want to thank the renters and the renter advocacy groups for also being active in this. They've historically played, a major role, at least in the time since I came on the council, in pushing for reforms in housing in the county. And their voice is important. And Matt, thank you for being here. This bill reinforces tenants' rights to a safe living environment. It's part of our overall commitment to improving housing conditions. We've changed the inspections. We're looking forward to the new law from Annapolis, which is going to give us another tool to deal with landlords who refuse to fix their buildings. And we're going to continue to collaborate with our community organizations and tenant advocacy groups, because as these things become available, tenants need to know about them. It's one thing to pass a law, but if nobody realizes they have the law or you don't have the rights, then you don't advocate for the rights. And so we need to make sure that we're able to get more of this information out there. It modifies Bill 724 modifies landlord-tenant relations and tenant protection notifications, requires enhanced fire safety for tenants, and it establishes clear and stronger requirements for fire safety notifications. So first of all, landlords have to tell tenants, what is the fire safety plan in your building? Where do you go? What do you do? And what you should expect. It also mandates regular inspections and necessary maintenance of fire safety equipment, ensuring that smoke detectors and fire alarms are functional. A big part of being functional is not going off too much, because when an alarm goes off 10 times a month, nobody takes it seriously. It's just another that's malfunctioning. We don't want anybody staying in the building thinking it's a malfunction when actually it's a fire. So we've got to be sure that these things work the way they're supposed to work. And that's the intent of the bill, and that's what we fully intend to implement here. It provides fire plans for multifamily high-rise buildings, and the DPS does fire code enforcement in buildings. And thank you, Robbie, for being it's important. We hope that no family ever has to experience this again. Nobody should have to. We're looking at other ways we can improve fire safety in buildings. There are some solutions which I think we all know that could actually lead to a major loss of affordable housing. We don't want that to happen, but there are steps in between that could enhance fire safety. And those are things we want to look at and implement as quickly as possible. So I want to just bring Kate up next. And thank you very much for doing all this work.
Thank you. Thank you to the county. Thank you to the county executive. And we are thrilled to be here today for the signing of the tenant protection and notification bill. As the county executive said, this is new legislation that will strengthen tenant protections and require landlords to notify tenants of fire safety, insurance, and building maintenance issues. It will better protect tenants and inform them of building matters pertaining to health, safety, and economic security. And it was a year and a half ago, over a year and a half ago, that we started to work on this bill because of the experiences at the Arrive. And unfortunately, the loss of life that our community and the Diaz family experienced when Melanie died in that fire. And it was talking to her family and their advocacy, talking to the hundreds of tenants who were displaced that day, working with the Renters Alliance, who is here today, and advocates, working with our Department of Permitting Services, our Department of Housing and Community Affairs, working with Dr. Earl Stoddard in the county exec's office, because all of these issues cut across these different departments, and working with our fire chief. And we're so glad to welcome Chief Smedley to the department, because he knows so well the importance of proactive communications with our community. And also working with our emergency services folks. These are the people who were on the ground the day the Arrive fire happened and the days after. And as we talked to them, we realized there were gaps that we needed to fill. And that is the work we undertook. And then a few months later, we had a power outage at the Grand in North Bethesda, which endangered a number of our older residents. And again, talking to our emergency services folks who were the first to respond that day. And you know, the only reason we actually found out in the county about the Grand losing power is because we had a police officer who was across the street at a store and looked over and said, something's not right at the Grand, and went over there and found out what was wrong and called our emergency service folks to get over there to help the older residents. That can never, ever happen again. And that is why we're here today. Because we know, because of climate change, because of other issues, that we are seeing an increasing number of apartment buildings here in our county witnessing emergency situations, power outages, water outages, and needing to evacuate. And we need to make sure that we have in place safety plans, notification, and good communication between our building owners, our building management, and our residents. And so that's why we're here today. And we want to make sure that when residents sign their lease, they know what they're signing and they know the building they live in. So we want to make sure they know whether or not there are sprinkler systems in that building. We want to make sure that there are emergency plans for when something doesn't go right, what they need to be doing. We also want to make sure they understand when they sign those leases, what it means when it says they have insurance, and to make sure whether or not that insurance covers their own possessions in the event of loss or damages. And we need to make sure that someone is available to answer questions when something doesn't go right. Because that day when the power went out at the Grand, I can tell you I was contacted by residents, but also the family of residents, of older members of our community that lived there, who were in the dark, who some of them had to be on medical devices and had absolutely no power, and the temperatures were rising in their apartments and they didn't know what to do. No one in Montgomery County should ever experience something like that, because it is preventable. So I want to thank all the residents, because I know retelling the story of the Arrive fire and what they experienced was very traumatic for them. but they helped us immensely as we were drafting this bill. I want to thank my own staff who are here, and just the work that went into really drafting this bill and working with the different county departments was immense. And thank you for all of that. I want to thank our fire department, emergency services, and Dr. Stoddard for their patience as we continue to ask questions. I want to thank our Department of Permitting Services and our DHCA and representatives who are here today, because you all, I know, are doing this work day in and day out and are there for our residents. And we really appreciate the partnership with all of you. And Jubilee is here, and the Renters Alliance, and that means so much to us as well, because this is about building partnerships and understanding what we need to do here in the county. And to Melanie's parents, thank you immensely for everything that you have given this community, for your advocacy. And I can tell you, not a day has gone by that we worked on this bill that we did not hold Melanie in our hearts, because we know that even though we've lost her, that we need to do better, and she is pushing us to do better. And so thank you for everything. So thank you, everyone, for today. Thank you to the county executive for his leadership. And I really look forward to moving this forward. Thank you.
No problem at all. I'm Councilmember Will Jawando, proud co-sponsor of this bill, along with many of our colleagues, because Council Vice President Stewart's right. We have to do better, and this is going to be a part of doing better for our renters. I'm really grateful to be here today. You know, the fire at Arrive, as has been discussed, and the power outage at the Grand, this is representative of nearly 40% of our residents. I think people forget 1.1 million people in Montgomery County. In Silver Spring, it's almost half of the residents are renters. Council Vice President's district has the most renters. And nearly half of our county approaching that are renters. These are their homes. And just like any other resident has the right to be safe in their home and to have a response that's on time and appropriate and is required to have all the appropriate safety equipment when the house is built, our renters deserve and need that same protection. This one hit me hard, the Arrive fire. I used to live at Arrive. It was called Georgian Towers at the time, around the same age that Melanie was. She was 25, and I was in law school, and I was living at those apartments. And we had our share of maintenance and issues. It was different ownership at the time. And, you know, I was talking to Melanie's parents, who she was had just graduated Georgetown, was working at the Aspen Institute in environmental. She was changing the world. And I want you to know she's continuing to change the world. This bill is part of that legacy, but I know the work that you're doing across the country and here in Maryland is going to prevent and save lives. And that's Melanie's legacy too. And I know you know that. I want to thank Council Vice President Stewart and her team for their work, their responsiveness, not just on this bill, but on tenant issues in general. She's been a great partner on tenant issues and making sure that we have everyone safe in our community. Not only that I used to live in Georgian Towers, I grew up in rental housing that was poorly maintained for much of my young life here in Montgomery County. And many of our landlords do a great job, but it is incumbent upon them to remember these are homes that are required to be safe, and we need to make sure we take care of that at every level: information, fire safety, maintenance, health and safety. And we've worked really hard with the county executive and this new council to make sure that that happens, and to also make sure that homes are affordable. And so really excited that this will be another really strong protection and information sharing that this county will do. All of our residents deserve to live in a safe and secure home. And in Melanie's memory and the memory of all those who have been lost in these types of horrific events, this is a good step to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So thank you to all the advocates, thank you to County Executive, and thank you to Council Vice President Stewart and her team. I think next I'll do my job. Thank you very much. Thanks, Matt. Thanks. Next is our fire chief, Chief Corey Smedley.
Thank you all for being here. I want to just highlight when the village comes together, you can accomplish anything. So our executive branch, our legislative branch, our stakeholders, whether it's permitting or housing and community affairs, our private partners, Montgomery County Fire and Rescue for a lot of the work to support this, but most importantly, the Diaz family. The community is the most important part of it all. And you made that determination to push through during your grieving, and Melanie's death isn't in vain. So thank you. It made us look at ourselves in Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service. From the pre-incident planning, we have initiated different community risk reduction efforts to specifically address certain areas that we need to be intentional on how we engage them, to ensuring that we do after the fire and go out and not only look at smoke alarms, but also other safety plans, whether that's in multifamily dwellings or otherwise. Whether it's in an operational space when we have purchased and adjusted our operations, whether that's purchasing different types of tools that help us get to the seat of the fire when we can't access it as we normally could, or buying smoke blankets to help reduce the smoke spread throughout the facility. And even after the fire, where the post-incident, where we constantly reevaluate ourselves to make sure that we did the best we can do and continue to do that every day. We will never stop. My goal with our team is to put ourselves out of business. So I'm going to make sure we're connecting every day, everywhere. We're going to reduce vulnerabilities. Every day, everywhere, we're going to reduce vulnerabilities. So stay tuned. We will reach you, and we will ensure that we're working together so we never have to stand in front of you this way to talk about someone who lost their life. Thank you for the hard work you did, and I look forward to seeing the signing of this legislation.
Thank you, Chief Smedley. Up next, we have father of Melanie Diaz, Cesar Diaz.
Oh gosh, you guys make a mistake when you give it to me this podium. Okay, I want to say thank you first to everybody here, because without you guys, this will be not possible. And to the people who give it to me their phone, their personal phone, they know how a pain in the neck I am, because I call them all the time, testing that somebody that's working or not. Because when I lost my daughter, I promised to my daughter and the community to fight for, and this came out today. We're still working a little bit more because more stuff has to be done, and this is not the end. This is not the end. This is the beginning for something bigger. Yesterday, I got the opportunity to just go around the city, to driving around a lot of buildings without, these systems. And a couple months ago, we passed a law where they required to make the buildings put a signs outside and say this building is not provided a fire sprinkler and safety. I noticed none of them have that paper on it in the front doors, and they still rent it without letting know the people about these issues. So I speak to the housing department and the department of, different departments here, please do their job. Just go outside, around, and check out all these buildings, because more life can be safe. More life can be safe. And after my daughter passed, not just here in Montgomery County, just nationwide, I see how many corporations abuse tenants and how people are afraid to talk because they don't have a place to go. Some of them, because they are immigrants, they don't speak the languages, and what I hear from those people is if you talk, we're gonna terminate your contract. They're so afraid to talk. Every time I come over here, people come to me and say, please, Cesar, talking because we don't want to talk because we're afraid. We're afraid. So somebody told me last year in a meeting, people like you, simple people like you, do not understand. And at the beginning, I was really mad because he offended me and offended my family with that kind of word. But at the end, I took it like I said, you know what? It's gonna give it to me more power to fight for. Because I'm gonna show him like this simple person is gonna change a lot of stuff for people's life, for people's rights. And like I say, without you guys, I will be not possible to do this. I want to say thank you, Kay Stewart, to everybody here in the commitment. There's so many names, I'm sorry I don't remember all the names, but without you guys, like I said, one more time, the friends, because they help me a lot. I call them all the time, and I said, this is what happened right now. Please report it because, we can do it together. We all are a family. And this corporation abuse everybody because they think they got money. They abuse people, nationwide. It's not just here, like I say. And thank you so much. We're gonna still fight for. This is not the end, like I said, this is the beginning from something big. So let's get together, please, and see all you guys, each other, the person next to you. Because yesterday was my daughter. Today it can be anybody, you or somebody in your family, somebody in the community. You can see the news every single day. Fires still happen. And low-income people, high-rise buildings, low buildings, houses. Doesn't matter who you are. If you are, American, immigrant, black, white, yellow, Spanish, doesn't matter. When this is happening, take it anybody. Doesn't matter what religion, what political party. We have to get together. So thank you so much for this opportunity. God bless you and be safe. And like I always, my daughter used to be saying, he extended the hand and said, hug your family every single day and tell them how much you love them. Because you don't know when it's going to be the last time you tell them how much you love them. Okay? Thank you so much. And God bless you.
Up next, we will hear from Melanie's mother, Zuleika Madera.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much to all the members of the council, especially to the Vice President, Kay Stewart. Thank you for all the fire department, the new fire chief, for all the staff member and everybody here. Thank you for all the support for this bill. Also, thank you, Kay, for all your own to make this bill possible. Also for your commitment to the community and the effort to make the residents and visitors more safe and security. If you don't do it, who will? And also, thank you so much for honor Melanie's memory. Thank you.
Thank you, Cesar and Zuleika. Up next, we have Omar Lazo. He is with the Renters Alliance Board of Directors.
Good morning, everybody. Buenos días a todos. Gracias a ustedes, la familia de Melanie Diaz, por estar acá. Thank you for the family of Melanie for being here. Mr. Diaz said one thing today. He says, it takes a village. It's a team effort to get all of this done. There's so many names. You can't remember everybody's name. What I can tell you is that your daughter's name will be remembered. Melanie Diaz, her name is the only one that matters in this room today. And that's why we're here supporting, and we're going to continue. And this is not the end. My name is Omar Lasso, and I am a proud member of the Renters Alliance, who I'm here to represent today. I first want to thank Vice President Kate Stewart for her leadership, because without that leadership, honestly, this couldn't have been done. And this is a step with the Renters Alliance. We've been around for over a decade now, and we're very, very excited with all the change and the progress that we're making from rent stabilization to the bill that we're going to be signing today. Thank you to the county executive, Marc Elrich, as well, for signing this into law today. Will Jawando, all of our council members that co-sponsored this bill. Myself, I know I came, similar to Mr. Diaz, Ms. Diaz. My parents immigrated from El Salvador. We went to rent in DC, and we dealt with all of these issues. And that's why I'm passionate about this. This is why I'm on this board, because I lived this. I lived in rat-infested, roach-infested apartments where landlords abuse. And obviously there's really great landlords out there, but we're focusing on the ones that are not. My dad cleaned 3 buildings and was a supervisor of 3 buildings in exchange for not paying rent. You can imagine, he collected rent from 3 buildings in Washington, DC. He swept and mopped. I did the same thing. I swept, I helped him, it's my dad, but there's abuses that happen. People don't see. And that's why I'm passionate about, what we're doing here as the Renters Alliance. The Renters Alliance sees many renter communities whose property managers and landlords simply neglect the basics. No emergency plan, even in high rises where seniors and disabled residents may be trapped. A failure to keep and maintain regular office hours when renters can seek services they pay for. They pay for these services. They're not receiving them. No notice of when to expect serious disruptions in heat, water, electricity, and other required services. And too often, the fine print fails to disclose the required renter's insurance provided by the landlord, and it only covers the landlord and not the tenant. We worked with the residents at the Rive Wheaton when the fire that killed Melanie Diaz and displaced scores of others. The legislation will help address some of these issues we saw there. And now thanks to the council for passing this legislation everywhere in Montgomery County. As a board of directors of the Renters Alliance, I am pleased to see the progress we're making for renters' rights. Like I said earlier, from rent stabilization to today's tenant protection and notification bill, we are making great strides. We will continue our efforts. Another big one, I know it's down the road, but just cause eviction. We have to pass this, and it's going to take this village. And I thank all of the renters that are here today. We are here because of you. We are here for you. And we need all the help we can get. We need just cause evictions for stability for our renters. So my daughter's best friends don't move to Frederick because they can't afford to live here anymore because the landlord raised the rent $600. That stability should not be only for the well-off. We all need that stability. So the next step is just cause eviction. And I want to thank you. I want to thank Matt Losick, our executive director, our board, William Roberts, our chair, Chris Perry, vice chair, John Fisher, Chris Garlock, Von Stewart, Delegate Von Stewart, Brandy Brooks, Sophia Bouchen, and Yvette Monroe. So I want to thank you all, and I want to thank again the county council and the county executive and all the members of our community for this great celebration today. Thank you.
Thank you, Omar. And now to join the county executive, we will sign the bill 724.
Before I sign it, I just want to just make one quick note. I hope you're around in the spring because just cause eviction is coming back again in the legislature. And your testimony about going out and talking to tenants about issues like this and having people say, I'm too afraid to step forward and say something is really important. We've got to convince the legislator, and I've got some legislators you need to talk to because we should have had it this year. And we've been working on this for 20 years, longer than 20 years, which is ridiculous. So let's get it done.
Sir. Do you know anything? Sir, could you move over to one seat, please? Yes, sir. Oh, come on, no. Feel it. Sir, I'm coming out. No. If you could lower your language here at every shot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Couple shots. Everyone look up and the county.
The last 3 years. Is it victory? Not necessarily. Is it an improvement? In this moment, it's an improvement. And if these numbers hold, then we'll say something more about it. But I think it's important to note that at least we've broken the trend that we've had over the last 3 years. And there's been a significant reduction in carjackings. We've gone from 22 for the same period